So today we're here at the Bundleby Insurance office with someone I've done business for a long, long time now. And through the years, the relationship has grown. Our kids go to the same school. We hang out on the weekends and stuff. This is Victoria Dominguez Han. What's up, Victoria? How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing good. Thank you for wanting to come on here, wanting to inform El Paso, and not just El Paso, Texas, and everyone about what's going on in insurance. A lot of times, a lot of people think this is it's boring. I don't want to hear insurance, but it's until the day of closing or 2 days before closing when somebody calls you for an insurance binder, or you call your insurance agent for a binder, and it throws your loan off whack. I know that you told me about some changes that are coming to the insurance industry for real estate, and it's definitely something that both agents and consumers should be aware of. Am I correct?
Yep, and they need to know because it's going to really delay a lot of closings and stuff, and if people aren't ahead of that game, then it's just going to make it even worse. Because I tell everyone, don't wait till the last minute on the insurance stuff. The minute you get into option period, that's when you need to start looking for insurance, because you need to pull up all the information on the house you're buying. And then, too, if they've had previous properties, they have claims that they're carrying over that will affect them on the insurance, too. So it's a lot of, little things that just hold up the whole situation, too.
Definitely. So a lot of changes are coming. However, I'd like to take, El Paso and whoever's listening back to how this all started, because this used to be the Dominguez Insurance Agency, and now it's Bundleby Insurance, correct?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that change. What happened there? Why did you guys decide to go from Dominguez Farmers Insurance to Bundleby Insurance?
Well, as far as when it came to farmers, the biggest deal was that my dad and mom had the largest farmers agency in West Texas, 30 years. So, period. So people thought we were crazy when we decided to, okay, so you're going to sell that whole book that you've been working that hard for and do a brokerage. So what we said was, we saw how rates kept on going up and there wasn't anything you could really do. And back in the 80s and stuff, it was completely different. You didn't have the competition that you have with online and all that stuff. So we were like, okay, well, we're seeing the trend here. Let's look at a brokerage, so that way we can do all that work for the client and always make sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck, and then we don't lose them as a client because rates going up, and then we're not dropping coverages and stuff. So then that's when we started, we went into the brokerage for Bundleby because it gave us more options. And then the other thing with farmers is that they had a lot of, I'm a very creative marketing, just like you guys, and so I couldn't do a lot of stuff. That's why we did Dominguez, because my dad had an old contract. But even then, all these franchises want you to advertise Farm or State Farm and all that, but they don't want you to advertise as an individual, so you're paying out money for farmers. So that's why if you see all these agents around here, you throw a rock and there's an insurance agent. A lot of times it's one person, but they just want the brand recognition.
Yeah, the brand recognition.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you became a brokerage, right? And with that gives the consumer and whoever works with you all, the book of business that you have, options, I'm assuming, correct?
Right. We have multiple home and auto insurance options. So what we do is, instead of fitting a round peg in a square hole, what we try to do is put a resume together and then shop it with the different carriers, depending on claims, depending on how the home is, depending on, multiple things, like if they have multiple properties, if they have commercial and all that, to make sure that they're protected too.
Okay. What are some of the biggest changes that you see? Because just in our conversations with what we've been doing and what we're going to be doing, you've told me, hey, you got to look out for these couple things, right? So I'm someone that's in the know. My team is probably a team that's in the know, but there's the consumer out there, who's looking for insurances, and all of a sudden they can't get insured,
right?
Or all of a sudden their premium goes from X amount of dollars to twice or three times the amount. What are some of those changes that you've seen?
The biggest one in Texas right now, in the last 2 years, the rates have gone up about, on average, 46%. Every insurance carrier has gone up. Some of them even more. We've had people that have gone up 180%. And what people don't realize is AI has such a hold on what they charge on the account. So If your credit's bad, your insurance is going to be skyrocket. And the big thing that I tell a lot of consumers is before you even sign a contract and you're getting like a resale, for example, take a look at the roof. If the roof is, past 10 years, none of the insurance carriers want it. And so you have to make sure that there's not, debris, hail damage, the stains on the roof. The other thing is T-locks. No one's going to write them anymore. And just really take a look at the roof and make sure they have the proper receipts. And let's say the roof is brand new and you're still wanting to buy that resale. Cool. Make sure you get receipts. Make sure you have all that information up front, because that's the first thing the insurance company's going to ask now. And what people don't realize is now some of the carriers are saying, hey, we need 15 days to put it in underwriting to make sure we do our own inspection of the house. So there's no more like, hey, you can't just lie about the home, because between Google Earth, the inspectors and all that, they're like CAD. They'll go to the house and they'll check it out themselves. So that's why you need time to shop for the client. And before, you're able to just issue a binder and that's it. Now it's a lot more underwriting and a lot more footwork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I mean, I've been there, and I'm sure any agent out there watching has been there where, I have a closing today at 3 p.m. and it's 12. Let's call Victoria. Hey, Victoria, can you get me a binder? This is the address. This is the client's information. And it used to be where can you still do that, or is that? I mean,
it depends, because if they've got claims, or if the house is like in bad shape, or if it's an easy, like new construction, you can still do that, but they're not going to get the best bang for their buck. Mm-hmm. So they could get a quote, but it's going to be pretty high, because those are the ones that are like, okay, well, we'll give you a quote right away, but you're going to pay for it. So whereas like other ones are like, we're going to sit down and do the underwriting and then see what rate we're going to give you. But a lot of them won't even give you a price till after those 15 days.
Oh, really? What do you think of? I've seen some insurance companies leave certain states, right? And why do you think that is? And how has that impacted the business overall?
Well, in Florida and California, for example, they used to have multiple insurance companies that worked there, but they had all the weather-related losses. So these companies weren't profitable at all. So what they started doing was pulling out. So now California and Florida only have 2 insurance companies out there for how big they are. And you have to replace your roof every 5 years. You have to do so many things to even get insurance over there. And what I'm seeing is the trend starting to happen in Texas, because we've had so many weather-related losses. And what people don't understand is I have a client that's like, oh, well, I've never made a claim. I've never done this. Why do my rates go up? And people don't understand we pay for everything that goes in Texas, just because we're in El Paso. And even El Paso, with the wind, we have so many claims that go on with the wind and hail. So we're not technically innocent either. But, if you're in Houston, Dallas, and those areas, Houston right now, most of them have put a hold on binding coverages in Houston and Dallas. You have to really do underwriting. They even ask for W-2s now over there.
For insurance?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because they want to know everything about you. If you're a responsible adult, if you're going to take care of the house. And so if you've had a property before and you've had a claim, they want receipts that you did all the work on the property before. Like, it's crazy now.
Oh, wow. I mean, and I think it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, right? Because as you said, they want to see if you're a responsible adult. They want to make sure that you're not making false claims. They want to make sure that the property that you're purchasing is in good condition, because we do know that there's a lot of homeowners that make insurance claims, but they never fix the roof.
Right.
Or, they lie about the I don't know, the shape of their home, the shape of their roof. And that, people need to understand, affects everyone collectively, correct?
So it's not just like I don't have a claim. No, it's everyone in Texas. And so what was happening too is people would get new roofs and then they wouldn't replace it. So then you'd have a client or a listing that, let's say they said, yeah, the roof is in good condition. And then, then we get the buyer and we pull up that they had a claim and they haven't done the roof.
Yeah, they've never done a new roof.
Yeah, and then that's when you have the issue going on there. So that's what I tell people. Nothing is impossible. Just start doing it during option period. So that way too, you as a client and you as a realtor, you're not wasting your time on something that's going to be their problem.
Of course. And I mean, that's basically what you have the option period for. And for those of you listening that don't know what an option period is, an option period is a time after you execute a contract, and it's a certain amount of days that you have to basically inspect your property to make sure that everything is good with the home, go back and forth with the other side, and negotiate repairs or negotiate allowances or things like that. So now you're suggesting that people start even looking for insurance during that period.
Right.
Correct?
So that way you can pull up all the stuff. Like if, let's say, we pull up a hail claim and we pull up a water claim, and they're like, well, we fixed all that. Where's all the proof that it's been done? Because a lot of times either they forget or they don't tell the listing agent. So the listing agent usually doesn't know unless they really have everything, but they need all the information before you even get that quote. So then at that point, the buyer will say if it's worth even messing with that home if the client doesn't have all the stuff.
And I think it gives the entire transaction a lot of transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Gives the entire transaction a lot of transparency because now people are aware.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody did make an insurance claim and there was flooding throughout the home, you want to make sure that the flooding was taken care of appropriately.
Right.
Because, moisture can lead to mold and things like that if it wasn't addressed properly at the beginning.
Right.
So that's definitely something that people need to start doing. They need to start calling Victoria during that during that option period. Now, I know you also mentioned some other stuff with people with, borderline DTIs and DTI is debt to income ratio, borderline, loan ratios. You want to get ahead of it. And why is that?
You want to get a realistic amount because let's say you're on the cusp of your DTI, you're like, if the insurance is a certain amount, then I'm not going to qualify. We need to know that ahead of time. So that way your loan officer can maybe work something out or your agent can work something out. And that way it's not the week before and then the contract just drops. So the more ahead of it you are, the easier it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that there's going to be the agent out there that's going to watch this and they're going to be like, well,
they're going to ready to cast stones.
Right. Well, not only that, but I have 10 insurance agents that are willing to give me, that on the spot quote. Mm-hmm. But the reason why you and I work together, and the reason why all of my business gets sent over is because of the reputation that goes behind the brokerage, right? The reputation that you guys have, that it's not just the quick buck, right? You guys are in it to protect the consumer, to protect not only that, but also protect the agent. Because what happens to an agent who gives a shady, insurance binder, and then when their buyer eventually is going to make a claim and, oh, well, we forgot to tell you that's not included.
Right.
Or we forgot to show you that's not part of it.
And everyone's named in a lawsuit. When it something like that happens, a consumer can say, hey, no one told me this, and, I got sent to this insurance company and they don't even have anything. The other thing the reason why you don't want to do any of these fly-by-night agents is, I can give you a binder and a piece of paper and say, yeah, it went through, but an insurance company has 30 days to underwrite your account. So we do the underwriting ahead of time. What a lot of these agents do is they close the deal and then the aftermath starts. So then they get, let's say, for example, you get Travelers that goes out there and they're like, oh, well, this house is in bad condition, so we're canceling it. So, little, Joe over here has no idea that his home's being canceled and he's in the process of moving and everything. And usually they don't know what's happening until they get a letter from the mortgage company that either their mortgage went up because the mortgage force places their own insurance, or then they can't get insurance anywhere else because of their issues that they had on the property that would have been caught initially in the beginning, and they would have been put in the right place.
Yeah, and when you say underwriting basically means going through all the minutia of, checking out who you are, checking out what home you're purchasing, checking out what claims have been, submitted on the home, checking out whether or not the claims were actually done, and what you're saying is very, very true. The fact that you underwrite a deal before the closing, it's beyond me that people actually underwrite it after the fact.
Well, they just want it quick. They want to get
Exactly.
paid quick, and they're like, okay, well, it's the path of least resistance, just like my kids. They want to do. They don't want to do the. They want to do the easy way out, and I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be even worse because the price that I would have given you is going to be even more when you come back, and it happens 100% of the time. And I actually had to help someone out too, because it was a lender that had sent them to this. I don't even know. I can't even cuss on here, can I?
Yeah, of course.
Piece of shit home insurance policy. And they, of course, it was cheap. Of course, it was the crappiest policy you can get. Even that one, they canceled that client.
Oh, really?
Yes. And then the client was pissed. They were like, you sent me, and then they couldn't get a hold of the agent because the agent went out of business. So it was like in no man's land. Tried to sue the lender for doing that because, of course, they didn't know what was going on or anything. So what I tell clients is don't get caught up in the way the house looks, because me as a female, I get it. Like, I want the pretty kitchen, you want all this stuff, but the reality is the most important part is the insurance part. And so if you don't know your deductibles, if you don't know what's covered, if you don't have a good agent that's going to explain that, I guarantee you once it comes to a claim, you're going to be screwed because you're not going to know what's going to go on. And especially as a first-time home buyer, they are clueless of what's covered and what's not covered.
Yeah, of course. And it's up to the agent to properly guide people. Properly guide people. And what happens is, like you said, everybody is looking for the quick buck. And that's how agents, that's how we ended up with this NAR. The NAR lawsuit and everything, because people think we don't do enough. Well, people think there's some agents that don't do enough.
Right.
But there is, there's, like they say, there's always that bad apple, right?
One person.
Exactly. And it's the same in insurance, I'm assuming, where the good insurance brokers and the good insurance agencies have been around for 30 years. And then there's been those insurance agencies that are, around for 1 or 2 years or not even long enough than that. And then they go under and they're nowhere to be found. Like you said, with that previous client, the insurance agent nowhere to be found. Now the client's stuck with the house that they can't insure. Their mortgage just went up. So it's just a lot of upfront, I guess, having the hard conversations up front with people.
Yeah,
right?
And that's what we do. I'm not scared to tell people I think they appreciate when you're honest with them. Like, listen, this is going to be a whole shit show, but I'm here to help you. And I'm here if you're patient with me and you're willing to work with me, we can do that. Because the problem is, if you go somewhere else with someone that doesn't know how to deal with these underwriting or these claim issues or, rate issues, then you're going to have an issue if you go with this agent, 30 days later, and it's going to be even worse. The price I gave you gets even worse.
Yeah. How many different insurances do you guys work with? Because of course, when you're an Allstate insurance or a Farmers insurance, that's basically who can cover you, right? But you as an insurance broker through Bundlebee, and this is just because I've had some extensive conversations with your dad, very, very interesting man. And he tells me a little bit about how it works and the vision for Bundlebee, but how many different insurances do you guys usually have the client fit for?
Well, that's a good question because we have multiple options, but with what's going on with the home market now, a bunch of the carriers have been pulling out. Like Travelers is no longer writing in Texas right now. Allstate isn't writing in Texas. What's the Germania, Liberty Mutual, all these big carriers aren't. So we do have still a really good amount of options, but again, it's just a lot more in the underwriting. Whereas you have the State Farm and Allstate and Farmers, and I don't know how they're doing it with just that one option there. So it does make it nice that we do have the options. It changes daily on who's writing what, but this is what I tell a lot of people is make sure you're aware of the changes that are going on with insurance, because it's not that easy to get insurance right now.
Yeah. And how has, the different, them pulling out of Texas, right?
Right.
How has that made, I know you already said, some premiums up by 46%, in some cases 80%. How has that made competition for you? What is it that you guys are doing to stay ahead of, or at least to compete, right?
Right.
Or to be dominant in that current market?
What we try to do is just the information. We let the client know that this is what happens, that this is what's going on. And since we have all the options, we'll show them like, hey, this is where it's at everywhere else. So when they try to, if they don't believe us and they try to shop around, they're going to get around the same pricing. So we try to keep them informed and ahead. And a lot of things too is what people don't realize is when you're a brokerage, there is more than one brokerage. We're not the only one. But when you become an insurance broker, some of these insurance companies will not give you an appointment. So what that means is they won't give you a contract with Travelers or with Chubb or with Guard unless you have a certain resume for insurance. So like my dad, dad and mom have been doing it for 38 years now. So when they applied for all those appointments, they were able to get them, but all the other brokers don't have them. So that's the other thing too, is like we have a lot of options because we've been around and we got all those companies prior to everything going on. And now the other thing is what's going on in Texas currently with all these carriers pulling out. Now they're not even giving appointments to agents. So that's what makes us a lot different.
Exactly. So, I mean, the fact that you have 38 years of reputation behind you, right, is what definitely helps you better service your clients, right? How is that dynamic? Because I mean, I know you, your mom, your dad, and stuff. But how would you describe the dynamic of working with your parents in the same office? Who's the police? Who's the who's the one that spends all the money? How does that dynamic work for you guys?
Well, if you ask my dad, I'm the one that spends all the money, but my dad deals with more of the admin.
If I ask Justin, he'll say the same thing.
He knew when he met me.
Oh, well, there you go.
Come on now.
Right.
So I would say my dad handles all the admin and then handles like all the hiring and all that stuff with my dad. My mom handles the day-to-day quoting with the staff, training and stuff, and so does my dad too. And I handle all the social media marketing, meetings, doing these kind of things, and it helps us not get on top of each other.
Yeah. So basically you're the face of the brokerage, right?
Yeah.
Of Bundle B, through your social media platforms, through the different things that you've been doing. And you're also very active in the real estate community, right?
I try to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you involved in NAREP. I've seen you involved in the realtor tours. You're always there to support whenever we have something going on. So that's definitely something that we really, really appreciate. If somebody needs to get a hold of you, what is the best way that they can get a hold of you to get, like I said, ahead of that curve and start getting those quotes ahead of time? Where can they reach you guys?
We have our website. You can fill out a quote online. So if it's late and you're like, I can do it, I can't do it during the day, we have our www.bundlebagency.com. You can call our office at 915-591-0075. You can reach us on social media, any of the platforms. It's under Bundle B2. We're around everywhere, so we can definitely help you out. And what I tell a lot of people too is it's free. We can shop it and do all the work for you, so you're not having to shop for insurance rates. Because the other thing too is what people don't understand is when they go, this happened last night, this guy goes online and goes and shops for an auto insurance, and he thinks it's cheaper, but he didn't put uninsured motorist. He didn't put towing and rental. He had the lowest limit. So you have to have somebody that's going to explain why you have certain coverages and why you need certain coverages. The other big thing that's going on with the home insurance market is with all the construction going on in El Paso, what people don't realize is, like, let's say they cut a sewage line or they back it up. That's not going to be covered on your home insurance. So you have to get that kind of stuff added as endorsements on your home insurance that people don't realize you have to do.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of data to process. So if anyone needs to reach out to you, you've already given them your information. I want to thank you very much for giving me a little bit of your time today. There you have it, El Paso and Texas and nationwide. Anybody that needs, any type of insurance, give Victoria a call. She gave us her number. Follow her on her social media. I guarantee you're going to have a laugh or two just from her TikToks and her Instagrams. But thank you very much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
There it is.
Boom.
That was 30 minutes.
That's how we do it.
That's it.